Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 382 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I'm glad you're here. And thank you again so much for sharing the episodes with friends and family. It, of course, helps the podcast reach more people, which makes the world a better place, I would like to think. So thank you so much for sharing. It means a lot to me. Now, what if I told you that I am where I am today because I grew up in a very religious family? That I am where I am because that religion didn't allow for expansion of the mind in any shape that isn't created by that religion. We all have an I am where I am because. Each of us has a story that we tell ourselves and the world that that's why we are where we are. What is your because? How would you answer that? How would you finish that statement? I am where I am because. Think about it. And once you have your answer, I want you to ask yourself, is that true on its face? Because I grew up with many kids who were raised in a very similar situation as me, and their life doesn't look like mine at all. What does that mean? How is that possible? Because if it's true that you're a product only of your experience, then someone who had the same experience should be in the same boat, right? But that's not how it is. What does that mean, and how does that benefit us to know that? Well, it means that each of us have or are an innate being. And we respond to our circumstances in very different ways. I have always felt like I was meant for something more, something unique. Have you felt that way? I bet you have, because you are and I am. I mean, each of us has a calling towards something that, if we just keep following it, will have us on a journey that is constantly inspiring and surprising us. Tim Ferriss had the CEO of Levels on his podcast recently. He said he hasn't paid attention to the news or social media for years, not at all. He realized he needed to do that because every new crisis of the week had him on an emotional roller coaster. And after he cut all of it out, he would hear his friends freaking out about a news story, and he would think to himself, that used to be me. And now I'm so unaffected because I know it's designed to keep us agitated. And so he keeps his mind free of it. He said he read 8 books in the first few weeks. Now, my thought when he said that he read those books was, well, you basically just traded one distraction for another. But that thought, okay, I had to really think about it because it stayed with me like it needed some clarifying. And when that happens, I usually get the clarity during or right after a meditation. And that is what happened about that thought that, well, he just traded one distraction for another. The clarity that I got was this. Reading books is vastly different from watching the news or scrolling on social media because you're choosing the book. You choose on purpose what your mind is consuming. And if you're like me, if you choose a book you're not really interested in, you'll get through the first few pages and then you put it down. So you're choosing what you're feeding your mind, which is how we were designed to thrive and create our path to who we truly are. Whereas the news and social media, you're simply at the whim of whoever's feed you're on or whatever news channel you're on. They're setting the pace for your life. There's no independent choice or creativity there. It's designed to keep you as distracted as possible so you stay on it. We know that now. That's the difference, though. One is distracting you from life, and one is helping you create and shape the life you were meant for. So him trading like watching the news and being on social media for reading books, that's not trading one thing for the other. It's actually helping him create and shape the life on purpose. And if you've listened to me for a while, you know I struggle with it. I've cut way back to the point where I won't be on social media for full days and do feel like a different person on those days. I'm called to completely keep clear of the news and social media. And I feel like I'm heading in that direction because when I have a calling, I know to answer it or to follow it because my life has always been better when I do that. So no, my life is not a product of my experiences. Your life is not a product of your experiences. Our life is a product of how I view and how I handle these experiences, just like yours, right? We all view things and handle things differently. That's why we can have the same experience as someone else, and it will end up very differently. That's why everyone's life is so different, even if you were raised in similar ways. And that's not just true in religion either. Children that were raised with a silver spoon, so to speak, meaning they were always wealthy, and they also have very different experiences. Now, some get addicted to drugs and end up in one rehab after another, and others live a life of philanthropy and charity. Each of us is unique innately, and we can make of our life what we want. And we can choose to just distract ourselves because life isn't where we thought it would be. Or we can realize that the knowing that life isn't where we thought it would be, that knowing should wake us up to do something about it instead of just distracting ourselves from it. I am where I am because I have always headed in the direction of my calling. I can say that. I am not just blindly following what someone else says I should. My parents would love for me to be still in their religion. Nothing would make them happier, but that did not feel right for me. You see, everyone has an agenda, and you do too. And as long as you stay true to yours, there's going to be an ebb and flow of you're following what you're meant for. Of course there will be. It's like the game of Marco Polo. Did you ever play that in the pool when you were kids? We played it all the time. You keep following that calling until you get to it. And sometimes you get closer and sometimes farther away, but you were always listening for clues. And that's what we're doing in this life as well. Always listening for clues to the answer of who am I? What am I here for? And the biggest thing I have realized is the stories that we tell ourselves just keep us farther away, because I am not my past mistakes, but I'm also not my past successes. But those are a part of the ebb and flow that keep me heading towards my purpose. And you might think that the mistakes take you further and the successes bring you closer, but that isn't always true. Sometimes your mistakes catapult you into a much closer place because they cause so much pain, which often leads to an awakening if you allow it. And sometimes successes will paralyze you so that you don't move forward at all, always wanting to ride that wave again of success, trying to keep getting back to that feeling. I had a friend who used to say it's like he was always chasing that 3-beer buzz, but it's never quite the same. It's such an interesting analogy. So don't discount or regret your mistakes, and don't hang on too tightly to your successes. These are both stories we tell ourselves, and it could end up with us thinking that the best is behind us, or I've messed up my life beyond repair. Neither of which is true, unless we hang on to that story. The best is always in front of you. And what if your mistakes was just God calling you to a place you wouldn't have realized without that pain? My challenge to you today is to listen to that subtle voice telling you that you were meant for more. Because you are, regardless of where you are, regardless of your story. But remember, that story is fluid. Your life is going to ebb and flow. Listen to that voice, though, and follow it. So pick up that book, make that phone call, reach out to that person, join that gym. Those subtle momentary thoughts, they're not random. They're your purpose calling you towards it. You are whole, but you are never complete. I love you guys. Share this with one person today. It's a message not everyone is ready for, but you are, because you heard it. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.